Hello, who am I? My name's Robert Lewis. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a politician. I've never ran for office, and I have no interest in doing so. I'd like to exercise my First Amendment right and say something that I've been thinking about and watching over the last course of the month about our election process. I want to be clear that this is a theory. I'm not trying to spread any misinformation. It's strictly a person that has watched factual things that have happened and put together my own conclusions of it that I have heard people in a roundabout way saying, but haven't really come down to how the sausage was made. Lots of theories out there about how this election went, and I'm not saying any of them are wrong, but they've been having a hard time proving it. The voting machine thing sounds wonderful, except I don't see anybody stopping the President Biden elect from taking office coming up soon. So I have another alternative theory that I would like to present to people that I think they somewhat know, but I don't know if they understand the direction that might be as deep as it really could be. And again, this is a theory, and I am not trying to spread any disinformation. This is my right to express myself, and I'm taking full advantage of that right now. First of all, are we to believe that a when something is proven in the court of law is either guilty or not guilty? Are we to believe that a perfect crime? What is a perfect crime? A perfect crime is no crime at all, according to our justice system. A perfect crime is pulled off without any evidence. It's pulled out without any traces of evidence. It means that there's nothing that they have that they can put forward to prove it. But the crime was committed. But our society makes it seem almost as if, no, it didn't, because they didn't have the evidence. So I would like to just say that that's BS, and that there is a thing called circumstantial evidence out there, and there's a lot of people that have gone to jail and hung and been fried on circumstantial evidence. And I believe there is plenty of that in this case. First of all, I would like to say that I believe that the amount of votes that were cast are definitely non-realistic for both candidates. I don't believe that Trump could have gotten that many more votes to make up for Biden's votes, because I don't think Biden got that many votes, and there would have had to have been an awful lot of votes flipped, as they say, to let Joe Biden basically be the winner. So here's what I think happened, and I would like to say a couple of things first. That I was very disappointed in I watched the Pennsylvania hearing that they had with Rudy Giuliani, and it was a farce. I was so disappointed. I thought maybe he would actually have something there, but there is no there, period. I've been watching talking heads on TV pulling their hair out. Everybody that I've talked to basically just can't understand how Joe Biden got that many votes. It's the big question mark, like, how was it done? The votes were flipped, they manufactured them, they did this, they did that, but there isn't anybody that's really coming out and saying exactly how this all took place, because nobody really knows for sure. But due to a lot of the things that have happened, such as ballots um, of dead people being cast, how exactly does a dead person vote? And there are quite a number of them. Are we to believe that somebody filled out the ballot for them and sent it in? It sounds a little unrealistic. What about all the people that uh, no longer vote anymore? They voted too. What about all the people that moved away? What about all the people that voted twice? What about all the ballots that there's only a vote for the president on it? How do you explain all that? Basically, um, what I believe is that the Democratic Party, right up at the top, believes that they're saving the United States, and they had to take drastic actions to do this. What they realize is they have a low voter turnout. Well, there needs to be something done about that, doesn't there? So what they have is a database they've had over the last 50 years of all the Democratic voters that have ever voted. They know their names, they know their address, they've even got their signatures recorded digitally. It does not take a wizard to take that list and bring it into a program very similar to what mass mailing software is used for. In other words, you can take a letter, or in this case, a ballot, and turn the name, the fields that are in that ballot, you can make them blank. You can take a database full of, in this case, millions of names. Could fit on a little jump drive, actually, maybe a 50 gigabyte jump drive. All the voters could actually fit on that. They can all be exported out into this software. It populates into the software with the names, all the addresses, and I think even signatures. It's possible. They take those and they basically print the ballots. So their justification is that, well, the Democrats are just not voting, so we'll vote for them. And, it's perfectly justified. They're Democrats, and they would have voted for Joe Biden had they got up and done so, or if they were still alive, or, many of the other reasons why they're not voting. So they justified it in their mind. And I truly believe that in my heart that is how Joe Biden got that many votes. They printed those out in mass quantities. They mailed some of them, and they also sent truckloads of them to the counting centers. There's also a possibility that the ballots that were requested could have been phony as well and requested off the same database of voters saying that they're requested ballots. They're sent out and their return address is somehow returned. I'm not exactly sure on that one, but there's always a possibility. I think wherever there's a possibility that there could be some sort of fraud due to the technology that we live in with computers, with software, that if there is any chance at all that it could be compromised, it should not be used. And Democrat or Republican should agree on that. The big question is why is it used? And why is there no real security around that like there is other financial institutions and other places where you actually have to use a real pen to sign something? You can't just, flick it off on your computer and send it in, your home mortgage. You have to be there at the closing and sign it with a pen. So the big question is why is nobody pushing that? I think maybe they like this printing the ballots idea. That's why. They're able to send in hundreds of thousands of these ballots. They're completely manufactured. There's no other explanation basically for how dead people are voting, how people from out of state are voting. In the software, when they get the list, they have a way of sorting the names and who they are and how many years they haven't voted, how many people are dead. At the top of the list, they sorted out all the dead people that have died that used to vote. Then they went on to the next part of the list, is that they figured how many people have moved away and are no longer living here. Then they sorted down further down the list to people that haven't voted in many, many, many years. And why do I mention this? Is because, well, they don't want to have a duplicate vote of the people that are out there voting. So it's safer to start with the ones they know definitely won't be voting. So they started there and they worked their way down that list. And as they went along, it started to get into some of the people that were actually out there voting. And that's why you do hear that there was double voting going on. This is really, I think, the most logical, easiest explanation of how they were able to do this. I don't disbelieve or discredit the the theory that the voting machines are fixed and you can move files around and delete them. However, it is a little bit of a stretch to think there would be that many people in on the computer fraud that they would actually be doing something like, people at the centers deleting files and moving them and stuff like that. And it does seem a little bit unrealistic that Trump would get enough votes to give Biden so that he could win. Uh, vote got Trump got over 10 million more votes than he did before. So what you would have to get like 30 million. You would have to got a lot of votes extra because I don't think Biden got very many votes at all. So I don't know about that. I think they printed these ballots out in a backroom deal, and that's what they've been doing. And you notice that Joe Biden, they did it right in the runoffs. You notice he was losing, 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 and all of a sudden, some sort of supreme, mysterious power came from the sky, and Joe Biden won South Carolina, and he just cleaned up after that. Isn't that amazing? Just like a Superman, really. I mean, he just started getting votes. I mean, they were growing off trees, and people were just, I mean, where are these votes coming from, right? They did the same thing in the election, and they're going to do the same thing this January down here in Georgia. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got the ballots pre-printed out in the boxes with the signatures on them, maybe months ago, somewhere hidden. So, folks, it isn't a real election. It's not a real election. It is a false lie. They are printing the ballots out. And it doesn't matter if they count the ballots over and over and over again. I keep hearing these idiots saying that we want a transparent election and where all the votes are counted. Well, go ahead and count all the votes. Because, when you pull off a perfect crime, all the damn votes are there. And all the signatures are there too. They're not that stupid, okay? They got it covered. And they got you all fooled like a bunch of idiots. Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes. Now, this is my theory. God bless Google and Facebook and anybody else that thinks that I'm trying to spread some sort of a misinformation or work against something. I just believe that we have the right, is the First Amendment right to express ourselves. And basically, I don't know, there is only one way to hold elections, and that is a real person has to be there with a paper and a pen in their hand, and had a Democrat sitting on one side and a Republican or whatever parties there are both sitting present, and that person signs the ballot, they put it into a box, and it's counted. That's the way it's done. Anything else is pretty much kind of there for the idea of the let's see if we can pull a sham off somehow. And basically that's what has happened, and it's not even that hard to do what I've described to you. I mean, I think I could do it, actually. Anybody that knows software knows that those files can be exported out as a .xml format. They're imported into the software. It populates all the ballots with the names. They're printed out, and they're mailed in, and they're sent by truck. And they receive them. They think they're real ballots. The people that are out there checking our elections, many of them are sincere, and they have no choice other than to say that it was a fair election. Hell, we counted the ballots. Except there's one small problem. They're counterfeit. I don't think they're real, because there's no way that a guy that could not get 25 people out to hear him talk suddenly got 80 million people that usually don't come out and vote, folks. The Democrats found a way around that. They just said, you know what? We'll vote for them. I hope that in time to come, we can all stand together. I have a new organization called Election Reform USA. I'm not trying to run for politics. I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I'm not trying to do anything but just let us all live in truth. We deserve the truth and not to be lied to. We deserve a different type of election process than what we've been through. And I'm talking right from A to Z, right from the start. Many, many things can be changed to make it a real and a truthful experience for people to be able to participate in. And right now, it is about as far away from that as you can get. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any comments, please get in touch with me. My name is Robert Lewis. And if I've expressed anything that isn't correct, I'll gladly go back and recorrect it. I can only come up with conclusions based on the information that I have. And I'm very limited because I'm just a guy that lives here outside of Atlanta. I have no real connections to getting any type of inside information. But I think that this is so easy. I don't think you need all that. How are we going to do it? Well, how are we going to change things? Here's my idea. I think we need to call in special investigative teams. I think that we have to start looking in the right direction and get away from the voting machine thing, because that's not going to pan out. I think we need to look at the paper that these are printed on. We need to look and see if there are any printing presses going on. I think we need to figure out how those ballots and where they were made and how they were created, where they were stored. I think we start to need to pull in some witnesses and some people that have been around that. I know this sounds like a crazy theory. It does sound a bit crazy, but with the dynamics of everything that has been going on, it's really not. It's right in par and in line with the craziness we've all seen in the last 4 years. I believe that we need to really look at where and how those ballots are being created. I don't know if there's any way to examine the ink, to tie things in, to get any type of witnesses. I don't know if anybody's really looking very hard in this direction. If they are, God bless them, and I hope that we finally crack the case. Thank you. Have a wonderful and happy